Congratulations, guys. All right, let's see the writers. I know we've got designers here, we've got DPs here, we've got editors here. Everybody stand up. Okay, and I did the animation, the tall man over there. There you go. And let's see our actors, our wonderful actors. We're all there. Okay, James, I think what we want to know is, since you're a busy man, how did you find out to do this too, and why?
Well, John is my good teacher, so he knows the answer. But this was our first class at USC, about 3-4 years ago. We're starting our fourth year. Yeah, we're starting our fourth year. And there's a lot of reasons I wanted to do it and how I got into it. I started acting, when I was 18 professionally, and then after a decade or so, I went back to film school, graduate school. I went to NYU, and then after I graduated at NYU, I started teaching there. And I remember I brought in some guest speakers when I was a teacher at NYU, and I brought in the DP of Oz, Peter Menzies, and he also shoots for David Lynch. And so everybody in the program showed up because they wanted to see David Lynch's DP. And then I invited the guy that did the visual effects for Oz, Scott Softag, and he won an Oscar for Spider-Man 2, a great guy. And I thought, he's a great guest because he's kind of on the forefront of all this special effects technology and very good at it. And nobody showed up at NYU, and I was really pissed. And I was like, what? Don't you guys understand? Like, this is so many movies are doing now. But they didn't. So I was like, and then for other reasons, I don't want to teach NYU anymore. And I thought, well, where's the place that would appreciate, somebody like Scott Softag and maybe could even incorporate some, visual effects into the student film. And I, of course, I had heard the legends about, USC and the George Lucas facilities that, were there. And then when I visited, it looked like, mini Paramount Studios, and I was like, this is probably the place that would appreciate that. Although you guys didn't really have a program in place to or it didn't seem like you had a program in place that coordinated the visual effects students with the directing students and everyone else. But I think that was kind of my initial pitch. Like, I want to do a class. I've been teaching classes like this where we make that are cross-class collaborations, and you end up making a feature-length film or a series of short films that turn out to be a feature. And, but I didn't have the visual effects component in any other schools, and so that was sort of my initial pitch. And we were going to use Borges stories, because I usually like, in all my classes, I usually like to have the students adapt something just so they're sort of all starting in the same place. But it turns out Borges is all the rights are tied up or whatever, so we decided to do our own kind of Borges-esque things. I know I'm long-winded, so anyway, I teach, I love school. I've been to a million schools. At a certain point, I figured out, enough is enough. But I didn't want to be stuck out. I like to teach. I love working with, new filmmakers, young filmmakers. It keeps me excited. I like working with people that are kind of pure and still just there for the love of it, and everything's exciting. And it kind of it keeps me, at least for those, 1 day a week, it keeps me out of my own head about like, oh, what am I going to do next? I got, what's going on with my career? It helps me, stop thinking about myself for a little bit. And how do I do it? I just make, the productions I do kind of work around me, or, we schedule it so that I can be there every week.
This man's commitment to time is incredible. Last year when we were doing the class, he was on Broadway doing Mice and Men. He was on stage Tuesday through Sunday. Sunday night he'd fly out, he'd teach UCLA in the morning, USC in the afternoon, fly back, and we'll be back on stage again on Tuesday. So this is a guy who's filling every minute every day, and fortunately for us, how he wants to spend a lot of his days is teaching our students. So we are so grateful for his generosity, not only for the time, but he patiently moves too. So it's extraordinary, and we're so grateful. And now as we say under our Forking Foundation, and since we've got him for a few minutes here, right after this, we're going to go off and have a writing session with the writers for writing next semester. So let's see if anybody has a question. You'll have to shout very loud or I'm not going to hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, this concept really reminded me of your book's Palo Alto with Actors Anonymous, with like taking short stories and making them all cohesive. What do you think is the biggest challenge in doing that?
Well, so the question is how do you take a bunch of different shorter stories and then make them feel cohesive? And it's something I do a lot. It's a format that works really well for filmmaking classes because you have more than one director, writer, and producer. You have multiple. But I like to link them all together so that the class is united, so that they're all working on the same project. When you go to MFA graduate programs, whether it's in filmmaking or writing or art, they all usually run on a workshop format where you go out and do your work. You write a short story or a poem or make a short film, and then you bring it back to the group and everybody critiques it, the teachers and the students included. And essentially that, they'll come back with constructive criticism, but often I found, and I've been to all the different kinds of MFA programs, I've been to all those kinds of programs. A lot of the time what happens is, the criticism is, people are forced to give criticism. If you weren't in class with some people, you probably would never watch their movies or you'd never read their stories. But you're in class, it's part of the requirement to give criticism. Sometimes criticism isn't that helpful, or some people are on scholarship and some aren't, especially, it becomes a big deal in like poetry programs where like everybody there knows like they are not going to make back that money writing poetry. And so if somebody's on scholarship, like there's probably a lot of jealousy, or they've got a grant or whatever. So that can find its way into the criticism too, and so I found that if I have a cross-class collaboration, the criticism now is altered because everybody is working on the same project. And so they're all trying to help each other make a better feature rather than just commenting on everybody's individual projects. Things that so in the classroom kind of naturally kind of leads us to this kind of collaboration where everybody's showing their work in class, everybody's seeing each other's work every step of the way, everybody's commenting every step of the way. And so it facilitates this kind of linkage. Even in something like this is like the least amount of linkage of any of our projects. But even here, we kind of started with themes and tones that we wanted, and I think just by everybody watching each other's work, they're influenced by it, and so things sort of start to cohere, and then we always knew that we wanted some sort of linking material, and eventually came up on this animation, and that of course helps animate too. And then this just helped unify, but and then sort of things like using, I don't know if we did on this one, do we have the same DP?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on some key positions you have, one or two people doing everything. So, the two DPs on this, doing all of them. I think one composer, I think we have more costume designers on this, but you can hire key people in those positions that will sort of set a tone across all of them and set a palette across all of them. It also helps unify.
Just to let you know how this got started, when James suggested this, I jumped at the opportunity not only because of the visual effects component, but because I think this project fulfilled a number of goals that I've had within the school. One is to give more opportunities to directors, and there are 8 directors that have a chance to direct. Also to create more collaboration between the writing division and the directing division. Too often, the writing division, they write scripts and they don't actually get to see the movies made, so here was an opportunity to get them made. And the challenge we threw out was to come up with a story that explored the unknown, the unexplained, or the unimaginable. That was the challenge. So I think we had about 30 scripts, and we chose 8 and then assigned directors to those. I also wanted to give people who recently graduated an opportunity to come back to school and work and actually get paid, thanks to this nice generosity. So the producers, the DPs, the editors, the designers, all those folks are recent graduates of USC who came back to work on the movies. I saw another hand over here. Oh, we're front row. Okay, good.
Can you tell me anything about your next project with
The question is, what is my next project with Giacomo? Okay. Well, she was great. She directed Palo Alto. That was based on my book. And I actually found her. I mean, she was hard to find. Her grandpa's pretty famous, but she was a photography student, and she hadn't really made anything. And I saw some of her photographs in her some videos she made, and I just thought she had the right feel for adapting Palo Alto. I didn't want to adapt it myself. I felt like if I did that, it would just be one more iteration of me, and I wanted to see what somebody else would do with it. And I was hoping to find a young woman to do it because I thought the book was, leaning and more, young characters in it, and I just thought it'd be nice to have a female hand to sort of change it a bit. And I saw Gia's work, and I just had a feeling, and I thought, if anybody had filmmaking in her blood, it's probably her. And but it took a while for her to develop it. I had her do all the exercises that I have with the students at USC do. She shot a test film on Palo Alto, run through many drafts, and it helped her, as a new filmmaker to kind of get used to being on set and making decisions and telling people what to do and all of that, which she'd never really done before. So I really just treated her like a graduate student, and she made a great, awesome film. A film that I wouldn't have made if I had adapted the book. And it's all, I'll do anything with her. She's awesome. We're planning on doing another movie. Just scheduling is hard, but she's a very hip young lady, so it's sort of about like, I guess the internet generation and internet stars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So my question is, did you get any inspiration, like for your narration, from Tales from the Crypt?
The question is, did we get inspiration for the interstitial narration from Tales from the Crypt? I love Tales from the Crypt. The Crypt Keeper or something. John and you guys kind of designed that. You can maybe talk about that.
Honestly, I can't remember how the script got written, but the idea of having James do the narration was, I don't know, fairly obvious, I guess. So he came to a booth and performed. I don't think there was any reference to Tales from the Crypt that I can remember. We had 8 directors giving instructions. So we probably had 8 versions of every line.
I just naturally did a little Crypt Keeper.
Second question was, what would your advice be for an independent filmmaker that doesn't attend like a college, like USC or NYU, and just starts by himself?
Well, the question is, what should a filmmaker who doesn't attend a graduate program do? And G.A. Coppola did not attend a graduate filmmaking program. The technology nowadays is so available. You can get cameras for cheap. You can get editing equipment for cheap. It was not always like that. Martin Scorsese said, I went to NYU just to get my hands on a camera. It was not always like this, right? So take advantage of that. Like, if you want to make movies, then make movies. And if you want to start, don't wait around for somebody to give you $1 million or even $100,000. Just go out and start shooting your stuff. It's the only way that you're going to get better and see, how good you are. But the other thing that you need to do is, once you make it, audience reception is so important. I mean, that is one of the most valuable things about these MFA programs, is you have to show your stuff to people. And as soon as anybody that's done anything creative, as soon as you show a painting to somebody, or you read a story to somebody, or show them a movie, it immediately looks different. Because you're seeing it through that other person's eyes, or that audience's eyes. And you're seeing how they're reacting. Now, you might not agree with their notes, but you need to understand how people are reacting to your work. So, go and make stuff. Shoot it on your iPhone, shoot it, and put it together, and then, show people, and then keep making it. If that's, if that's what you want to do, you'll just find a way to keep doing it, because you can now.
I've actually shot on my iPhone too, so you can
Cool.
check me out.
I probably should ask somebody else a question, but keep shooting on that iPhone. Okay.
Did you find the transition into teaching a natural one, or were there difficulties? So talk about them.
Did I find the transition to teaching a natural one, or were there difficulties? Well, I remember about a decade ago when I was only an actor, and I'd done some good Spider-Man movies, and I'd done a bunch of other movies that and there's some good things I was proud of. I'd done Freaks and Geeks and played James Dean, but then I had done some other movies that I was not proud of, and I was sort of depressed, and I was trying to find a way out of depression, and I thought, oh, well, maybe if I could teach, I think that would be helpful. Like, I kind of understood the principle of, like, giving back, like, as a way to sort of get out of depression, but I thought teaching would be a great way to do that. And, but at that time, I was like, God, what can I teach? I don't know how to do anything but act, and I don't even know how to teach that. Got to years later, one of my solutions was to go back to school. So I went back to school, and I went to many schools, And then I was in a PhD program, and that is basically a program that teaches you, trains you how to be a professor. And that's what all my fellow students were doing. And so I started getting scared, like, you know, oh man, I'm actually gonna have to teach, like, college students, like, oh man. I was really nervous. And that was an English program, so it wasn't even filmmaking. And then as soon as I was done with NYU, I realized, you know, there are ways that some of these classes could be taught that I would do differently. Like, if I could have had the class that I wanted as a student, like, why don't I do that class? And then I realized what I could also bring to it is that I could bring a little bit of the professional world to the film school, meaning I could get great actors to come in and work with the students. We could try and raise the production level, so that these were more than just student films that would be shown, you know, to the class and then put in your drawer and never seen again. Like, and so once I realized that, and I could treat the class almost like I was a teacher / producer, then I realized, oh, I know how to do this. I can do this, and I know how to help people along and give people opportunities. And so once I figured that out, it was pretty smooth.
I was just wondering how the casting process was for these shorts. Like, I love Matt Lucas, so that was awesome to see him in it. And like, was that easy to get someone like him, or was that, you know?
That's about the casting process for this. This is my 4th year at USC, and then my 6th year as a teacher of graduate film students. So I've asked a lot of favors, 6 years, 5 or 6 years, I've asked a lot of favors of actors. So in some of the other movies, you know, we've had Natalie Portman and Jessica Chastain and Kristen Wiig. I can't really ask them to do another one. You know, they did their paper. So, but there are actors that are really cool, and you kind of get a sense of like who would do this and who wouldn't. There's some actors that are like, oh, you know, I don't have the time, you know, to do the next James Bond film or whatever. But there's some that are really cool and understand the concept of, you know, nurturing new talent and being grateful for, you know, being successful and giving back a little bit. And so I seek those people out. So yeah, I asked them to do it, and you know, I asked a lot of actors to do it, and then some of them actually were just cast that directors found.
We rely a lot on James's contacts. Obviously, he casts many of the top roles in all these movies, and then we also shamelessly use his name in trying to attract other actors who want to be in it. And James he did voice in this one. He's been in the last 2 films we did himself, given us 3 days. And Matt Lucas was his contact, and Beth Grant, and Jim Parrick. So, those for sure, and probably others. But it's a great pattern, a wonderful opportunity for the students to work with actors of that level.
Right there.
How did you select the 8 lucky directors for this?
Right now, who's that?
How did you guys decide for this film what order to put it in the show?
We heard 2 questions.
How do we find the question is, how do we select the order?
It was kind of done democratically by the directors themselves and producers. After we finished all 8 films individually, we came up with a big kind of a voting thing, I guess. Got James to sign off on it. Oh. I don't know. That works, right?
Well, you kind of think like, you know, there's sort of a comedic one, slightly comedic with the, what about that, what's it called? Mandroid, So you think like, okay, that can be like a little bit of relief, you know, at a certain point, like maybe don't put the two heaviest ones together, and you know, you sort of find a pattern. It's sort of, you know, it's like putting an album together or a mixtape. You know, you find what is a good rhythm and how do they work off each other best. Yes. Yes.
How did you select the 8 lucky directors?
Oh, so the selection process at the different schools I teach at is different. I'm very fortunate to have John at USC. He's been there for how many years? 8 years. He's been at USC for 8 years, so he can kind of do what he wants there. And it's so great to have a teacher like that just get things done, and it's awesome. No weird school, you know, politics or anything. You can just. And so John does a lot of the selections. I don't really. I think these are third-year students.
Yeah.
So they're third-year students. So I don't really know them, but John makes the selection.
This first time around, they were actually recommended by the faculty. I think we narrowed down the list of scripts to about 15 scripts, and then James and his partner and I read the scripts and chose the ones we wanted. Yeah. And then the directors who were attached to those scripts were the lucky ones who made it onto the shortlist. Subsequently to that, I tried to take myself out of the mix. In the last 3 years, we've had the directors selected by the directors of the previous year. So the people who directed on Labyrinth chose the directors for the following year. And I think it's a wonderful system, because now students selecting who they think are the best amongst their peers.
So that means get along with your peers at film school. Not everybody does. Okay.
Hi, my name is Ava Williams. Do you have any advice for a struggling 10-year-old
Well, you're very cute, so you've got a leg up. Just don't lose yourself, I guess. Hope you have strong parental guidance and role models. Just keep at it. Seems like you probably love it, so just keep the passion hot and keep trying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there a distribution platform for these projects?
Yes, we're sort of working on that. I have a lot of these now. You can imagine from 5 years of teaching at three graduate film schools. We are working on that. But they're made in a certain way so that we can actually sell them, and they are, and we always make a feature-like thing so that we can go out and sell it as a feature. So the films, and the first film I ever did had a class at NYU called The Color of Time, sold, had a theatrical release. So we're planning to do something like that with all of them.
Hi, James. I was wondering how you get involved in your projects.
How you would get involved?
Yeah, how people
How one would get involved? Okay, how do you get involved in my projects? Well, there's a lot of different ways. Look out for auditions for the next USC film. And when will we do the casting?
We'll be casting in February.
February. Look out for casting in February. Positions on crew. I have, in addition to teaching at USC and UCLA, I have my own school, Studio 4, and we do, there's tons of classes there, not only for actors, for directors, producers, writers, and I do a similar thing there where we make movies. So that is also a way to not just go to class, but actually, make something and be part of something. So you can do that too.
Hey, how many years of intense, I know you work about 7 days a week, which is great, but how many years of that did it take for you to progress into the actor that you are?
How long did it take being a workaholic to become the actor that I am? When I was in high school, I got in a lot of trouble for some really stupid things. I grew up in a really nice place called Palo Alto, but I got in a lot of trouble. And so at a certain point, I had to change my behavior, change the patterns, because I couldn't get in trouble anymore. And so I'd always been drawn to art, film, and acting, and literature. And so that was when I started to fill all my time with those activities rather than activities that were getting me in trouble. And there was an art class after school. It wasn't part of school, it was like part of this art league. And they had classes every day after school from 3 till 10. And I ended up just going to that every day from 3 to 10. And so I was drawing, doing life drawing and portraiture for about 40 hours a week in high school. And that's when I realized, like, wow, if you really love something, like, there's never too much. Like, just do it and do it and do it and do it and do it. And that was sort of my secret. So when I left UCLA when I was 18, because I wanted to act and I wasn't an acting major, I went to acting school in the Valley, and I just thought, all right, I'm taking a big swing. Nobody thinks dropping out of UCLA and going to work at McDonald's is a great idea, but I'm taking a swing, so I better not slack. And so that's, I applied that sort of obsessive approach to acting and acting class and everything. And I only had to work at McDonald's for like 3 months, and then I got a job, and then and so it sort of worked out for me. If you love something, like, just keep doing it. And that's what I've done since I was 16, I guess.
Do you happen to know if there are any current plans to turn any of these shorts into features?
No.
Only one, right? John, are you doing that? Yeah.
Which one?
Strings. Next to last one.
Strings is being turned into a feature film. Cool. Anyone else? Yes.
How do you choose a role or a project like that?
I'll give you next. It's all right, go ahead.
What inspires you to do all the things you do?
What inspires me to do all the things I do?
Yeah,
Well, when I was talking, that period before that I was talking about, when I was only an actor and I got depressed, I realized that part of it was that I couldn't express everything that I wanted to express by acting alone. That there were other ways of participating in filmmaking, right? So directing, writing. And I found in these different venues that a lot of now that I do a lot of different things, like I can allow form to match content. So if I have a project that I want to do, I can figure out what is the best form for it. But it's sort of all comes out of the same place. Just wanting to create and communicate and all of that. It's just that I really enjoy the different forms and the different things that they can do. And when I was, some people only act and only direct. That's totally cool. I just found that for me, it didn't allow me to express all the things that I wanted to.
So why did you have the students work on this genre as opposed to other ones?
Why did I choose this genre for the students to work on? Like I said before, I always have a source text that we adapt. This was really the only year that we didn't, and that was just because we wanted to use Borges, and then it turned out to be more difficult than I anticipated, and we were running out of time, so we decided to do our own Borges thing. But I guess I thought, going back to the Borges, I just thought, if you could write short stories, they're good little mysterious chunks, and could be a lot could be done with the filmmaking, and then it also fit really well with my initial plan to incorporate visual effects, because there were a lot of strange things happening in Borges stories, and so I thought that was a great sort of source text for the project, both because it could involve a lot of different students, but also because of the subject matter and the way we would have to capture it.
You can always rely on James to have unusual ideas. So when this one was being finished, I said, "So what do you want to do next?" And he said, "Well, I don't know, I'm kind of busy, I'm not sure I can do another one." So I said, like, real producer, "Okay, there's got to be something you want to do that would persuade you, if we agreed to do it, to do this again." He said, "Well, I always wanted to do Don Quixote." So I pretended I thought this was a great idea. Ran to the library, got a copy of the book, and tried to figure out how the hell you take a 1,000-page tome and turn it into a student film. And the whole idea of student film to do period, to do horses and stunts, and be out in the countryside, I mean, it was impossible. So then last year he wanted to do Actors Anonymous, which we did. I mean, yeah, it's really, really good. It's premiered at Palm Springs. And then this last year he suggested we do Actors Anonymous, which was a privilege, but it was also a little daunting. It was his book, right? So you can't screw up with his book. So there's always that little fear. But he promised he wouldn't be precious about it, and he wasn't. But he gave us real free rein to write create another movie. This time around, maybe the strangest of all, he said, "Okay, I want to do Moby Dick." Like, okay. But I want to do it as a play. But I won't reveal any more than that. Anyway, it's a challenge, so it's fun. So, this is a guy who's got an original mind, and he's like, has these ideas, and somehow, once I got over the strangeness of it, I embraced it and had a lot of fun trying to figure out how to do it.
Part of the thing too is, what is optimal for, graduate film students, meaning what is within their means, what do I think they'll understand, maybe even better than older filmmakers in some subject matter, and and it's sort of like when you see high school plays, like when they put on a play that has a bunch of grown-up characters in it, and they're all playing these grown-ups, it's sort of like, okay, high school theater presents, very cute. But when they do like a play that has teenagers in it, like they're perfect for the roles, and it's like suddenly amazing. And so I try to find projects that I think these students will hit out of the park. And so I knew that we could do Don Quixote because I had done this Faulkner adaptation, As I Lay Dying, which is a period and, really dense material. But we did it for a certain budget because it was so rural. Like, you didn't have to do a ton of set design. It's just like, go get a wagon, go out in the woods. And I kind of thought, like, that's what you sort of could do with Don Quixote. And I knew the school hadn't really done it before, and John hadn't done it before, and so it'd be like, wow. But I knew if you did it, you could just get out on the rolling hills, and you could do Don Quixote. And they did. It was awesome. Actors Anonymous is basically about young people trying to make it in Hollywood. So I hope that the filmmakers could understand that. This other thing, what we did sounds like, what the hell? Like, no way. But I think the way that we're going to do it, again, makes it very achievable for the film students. So I'm just looking for projects that fit the model of the class so that multiple directors and production teams and writers can work on it, but also that the material is something that they'll really nail and be able to nail with, with the budgets that we have.
Would you ever like to produce a big budget feature film with an Oscar? Or do you prefer like indie filmmaking where you have more creativity?
Whenever I want to make a big budget film and win an Oscar, yes. Or not like indies. It's always a trade-off. In any creative endeavor, there's always a balance between art and entertainment, or art and business. And certainly in the film industry, right? It's called the film business for a reason. There's a business side to it. Lots of money can be made. It's still, for certain kinds of movies, still costs a lot of money. Generally speaking, it costs more money to make a movie than do a painting, right? Or write a poem, right? It costs nothing to write a poem, right? So there is a business side to things. When you spend more money on a movie up front, then you have, generally speaking, less control. When you have less money, you have more, you spend less money, you have more creative control, but you can maybe do less. So it's all about, with any given project, finding that balance, finding how much control you want to give away in order to get, more money for production and that kind of thing. So, for example, Oz, the movie I did with Sam Raimi, you wouldn't want to do that movie without all the effects. But that meant that Disney was going to have a very close eye on that movie. Or a filmmaker like Danny Boyle or David Lynch or even the Coen brothers, they all go through that kind of finding their balance. Meaning Danny Boyle had done all these smaller movies that got a lot of critical acclaim, and then he did The Beach. The budget ballooned, and he decided, I'll never do that again. He was offered one of the Alien movies and that kind of thing, and he's like, no, I'm going to make these movies at this level. Slumdog Millionaire, 127 Hours. Even Jobs is not huge, and he'll have the creative control he wants. Coen Brothers did Hunchback Posse, right? And and they're like, okay, I don't know what they thought, but you can see from the movies after that, all right, let's not make the movies that big anymore. David Lynch did Dune, right? Lost control, they re-edited it. After that, he did Blue Velvet. Never did a movie that size again, that size of Dune again, because they get the creative control. So it just depends on what you want. But I enjoy big budget movies. I'll make one if it's the right. If it's worthy of, I think it's worthy of that budget. But I won't do it just to do a big budget.
I'm getting the signal over there, so maybe I have one more question. But I also want to thank James personally for changing the whole structure of USC. I got there 8 years ago. One thing I was told, that I have a background in making big features and long-form television, I was told, we don't make features here, we only do short films, which was somewhat of a blow. But now, thanks to him, we are every year making features, and making in this really unusual way with multiple directors and multiple writers, and I think it's fantastic. I think we're pioneering a whole new form of television, features. So one more question, and then we'll get out of here.
The super fan.
Making a scene, the AOL series, I really like that unique idea of the whole crossover thing. So where do you guys, or get your inspiration from that? What categories do you guys pick? I know you guys now have series 2.
Okay, this question is about this online series that we call Making a Scene, where we take, the first season we took movies and mashed them up and then made sense of that, and then this season we're doing television series and mashing those up. So the main idea behind it was, I wanted to do something creative that had several steps that were out of my control. So we don't pick the series that we're matching up. We go online and we ask everybody which series they would want us to recreate. So that list is generated by people online. It's totally out of our control. Then once we get the top 20 shows, we put them on a wheel, and we spin the wheel. And the wheel tells us what we have to match out. So again, there's 2 steps that are out of our control. We thought, in the first season, we thought, man, we didn't even know if it would be funny. We just thought, damn, this is going to be weird. Like, Dirty Dancing and Reservoir Dogs, like, what the heck? But it ended up being really funny, and I ended up using a lot of writers from Saturday Night Live to help with the, polishing the scripts and that kind of thing. And it turned out to be really fun because we get to, in a fun way, in a kind of tongue-in-cheek way, we get to recreate all of our, a lot of our favorite shows. Sometimes people pick shows that I don't like, but a lot of the shows that I love, and we get to kind of enter those worlds. So like last year, we got to recreate Taxi Driver as a silent movie. Like when would I ever do that? But it was like awesome because you sort of get to, in a it's not in a full-on way, but in a kind of minor way, you get to sort of step into the shoes of these different directors and think about like, well, what the heck are they thinking? Why did they do it that way? And it's a really good filmmaking exercise that I've kind of done before on other projects, but here we get to do a whole bunch of them, so it's really fun.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.